Hello! In this video, I will be showing you how to add elements using the Clever editor and how to modify existing elements using the editor. To add new elements to the form, we would use the options accordion. There are two ways that we can add an element. First, we can simply click to add. First, select the container where you want to add the new element. Next, select base types from the options accordion and find the element type that you wish to add. In this case, I will be adding a text box to an existing container. As you can see, when I clicked on the item in the options accordion, it was added to the selected container in the top left side. From there, I can move the element into position using one of the move methods. In this video, I will be mostly clicking and dragging to move elements around on the screen. If you would like to learn more about the different ways to move elements around on the screen, please view one of our other editor videos. The next way to add a new element to the form is to click and drag the element type from the options accordion to the container where you would like the element placed. Using this method, we can place the element in the position or approximate position where we want it to be. To do this, we would again click on base types if it's not already open, and find the element that we want to add. From there, we can move the element to where we want it to be using one of the move methods. To demonstrate the next portion, I will be using a blank form. Custom types are elements that Clever has created that could include many different base types grouped together in a container, or base types that have been styled, or elements that are not included in the base type section. To add a custom type, you would first click on the custom type section of the options accordion and find the custom type that you want to add. You can see that custom types are further organized into subtypes. For example, there are custom types that are common and custom types that are headings. In this case, I want to add the Return to Listing link to the top of my form. This can be found in the Links section. I can click and drag the element onto my form and resize like I would a base type element. To save on vertical space on forms, there is a base type called tabs. Tabs are a special type of container element that can have content and contain other tabs. You can add a new tab container to your form by opening the base type section, then clicking and dragging the tabs onto the screen. As you can see, a container and one tab are added. You can add another tab to the tab container by clicking on the plus sign beside the tab container gray bar. We can use copy and paste to copy an element from one container to another container. To use copy and paste, you would first select the element or element container that you want to copy. Then open the Options table section of the Options accordion and click on the Copy Selected button. Next, go to the container where you want to copy the element to. This can be on the same tab in the same container, or it can be in another container or another tab, but it cannot be in another form. With the Options table section of the Options accordion open, click on the Paste Selected button. You can see that pasting places the item in the top left corner of the selected element. You can now move it into position using one of the move methods. To update the text in a text element, the element attribute content would be updated to the new value. For example, if we want to change homeroom teacher to classroom teacher, we would click on the element and update the attribute value from homeroom teacher to classroom teacher. Then click the Enter key on the keyboard. If the attribute line save indicator flashed, the value has been saved. When custom types are used, the built-in attributes are hidden. You can still update hidden attributes by typing in the name of the attribute into the attribute space in the options table. For example, in this custom type, we can see the heading says general information, but there is no content attribute or its value. We can still update the element by typing in the word content with the value of the new heading text. There are some element types that require specific attributes to function correctly. Text, as demonstrated previously, needs to have the attribute of content with a value. Drop-down types require an attribute called options list. The options list attribute is what holds the values that are displayed in the live view when the element is selected. In this example, I will add a school year label and drop-down with predefined school year values. First, I will add a custom type that has a text type element and a text box. Next, I will delete the text box element because I want to have a drop-down instead of a text box. It is useful to use a predefined custom type for grouped items and replace items or reposition. As seen in the previous example, this custom type text element does not have a content attribute, but I can type it in and update the value. Since this is a drop-down, I will add the options list attribute and then in the right side add the values. The values for the options list attribute are separated by a semicolon. There is no need to put a semicolon at the end of the values or to add a blank for a blank line. Radio buttons are another base type element that requires special attributes. In order for a set of radio buttons to work together, which means only one can be selected at a time in the group, every radio button in the group needs to have the same name. In this basic example, we can see that both the yes and the no radio buttons have the same name in this group. Radio buttons should also have a value. This radio button has a value of no, and the yes radio button has a value of yes. The last element type we will be editing is the tab and the tab label. Every tab needs to have a container element. Previously, we have seen that when a tab is created, a container is also created and placed in the top left-hand corner. In order to update the tab label from the default, the container in the tab will have to be moved. To move the main container element in a tab, it is best to select it and use the spatials instead of the mouse. The first tab spatials vary slightly from the rest of the tabs in the tab container. For the first tab, select it and open the spatials in the options accordion. Enter in the values of 5 for X and 40 for Y. For all tabs after the first tab, it is the same process, except it is best to use 5 for X and 7 for Y. This will ensure that all the containers in the tab line up vertically in the live view. You can find more information about alignment and best practices in another video. Now that the containers are arranged, the tab attributes can be accessed by clicking on the space between the container and the tab container. There are some attributes of the tab that need to remain exactly the way they are, like doc ready and ID. But the label can be changed by updating the value of the label attribute and clicking Enter. That is everything we'll be covering in this video. We hope that you will watch more editor training videos, and if you have any questions, please contact our support team and we will be happy to help. Thank you for watching.